Hello, welcome back to Game Dev Club tutorial. We're continuing Space Invaders, of course. We're going to go ahead and start with our entities. So go ahead and make a new package. .entities. Go ahead and make a new class there. Call it entity. You might remember this from Pong. Alright, cool. So we have entity. So it's gonna have protected. I think we had it like this in Pong as well. So protected angle bounds, protected vector2 vel for velocity. So import these. Make sure you're importing the GDX one and your vector2. Alright, so let's make our constructor. Protected entity bounds equals new rectangle, and then vel equals new vector 2. Alright, so that we can have them instantiated in our classes. So public abstract void draw, just like before with the sprite batch or shape renderer, SR and a sprite batch, SB and a float DT. So go ahead and import your shape renderer and your sprite batch. I don't know why I put and there. Next we want our dispose, so public abstract void dispose. Okay, so to make this easy, I'm just gonna go ahead and make some private float x, y, width, and height. Okay, so now I'll go to source, generate getters and setters, and do it for all of them. So x, y, width, height, and make it after dispose. Okay, so we can go ahead, delete this. Yeah. Then do bounds dot, and you can copy the bounds dot. Just dot bounds dot x is x. Yeah, so go ahead and do that with all of them. Okay, and then we want to get position, public vector2 get position, and then we want to return new vector2 bounds.x bounds.y. Alright, and then we want a set position, so public void set position vector to point. We're gonna do bounds, or actually float x float y dot x equals x and bounds dot y equals y. And we want to overload this, so public void set position with the vector2. Again, this is all for copy paste ability. You don't actually really need much of this. So yeah, I'm just gonna like do this. just gonna make this easy again. Just have a temporary one generate the getters and setters. Height, and then set dimensions actually takes this and does this with width, height, and then Alt Shift R with Alt Shift R. Okay, so then we have get center, public vector to get center, yeah, so float x equal to bounds dot x plus bounds dot width times 0.5, so divided by 2, and then we want float height, or the y to be the height divided by 2, and then we're going to return new vector 2 x comma y. Okay, so then get right, get top. Okay. So, because the actual coordinate is the bottom left, so we want the right and the top as well. So get right, and this is all for copy paste ability. Return bounds.x plus bounds.width. Then we have public float get top, and this is return bounds dot y plus bounds dot height. And then we actually can go ahead and make a getter and setter for our bounds and velocity. So generate getters and setters, bounds and vel after get top. Why didn't it generate? Oh no, it did. I just didn't notice. Okay. And then finally, we want colliding width. So public boolean. This is for collision detection. So colliding with, yeah. I'm gonna first take an entity E and return bounds dot overlaps E dot get bounds. Actually, we're gonna do it the other way. Public boolean colliding with rectangle R. And we're just going to do R here, and then we're just going to return colliding with e.getBounds. There we go. That makes the code a little bit simpler. Alright, so now that we have our entity set up, we can go ahead and just make our player right away. So, let's go ahead and go to make a new class, call it player, make a superclass, make it extend entity, make sure it's from our package. Okay, so I forgot to make it to the constructor, whatever. So public player, so super, so that it calls when you have super like this in an overridden method like this, it just calls the one from up here. So it calls that. So then we're gonna make a texture. I don't think I went over textures in Pong, but think of a texture as just like an image that gets drawn onto the screen. A texture pretty much has everything a rectangle would have, with height and all that stuff. It doesn't come with built-in collision detection. So there's a class called Sprite in libgdx that kind of combines the two automatically. But I think it's best to just have, in a class, just have a separate texture object to draw Yeah, so text equals new texture, and it takes in a string of the internal path of the texture. So here we have entities, players. So it's going to be entities slash player dot png. Entities. Okay. Just make sure I spelled it right. So here we go. Set dimensions. I almost didn't do this method. Text.getWidth, text.getHeight. So this is the width and the height of the image. Get height. Alright. And then set position. Alright, so cool. What are these? What is position? So we're gonna have it at, I'm just gonna set this to 0 for now. And then here, my constants dot game width times 0.5f, so right in the center, minus get width times 0.5f, so that it puts it right in the center of the and going left to right. Then we're gonna do my constants dot world height times 0.10f. You can just make that 0.1, but whatever. Minus get height times 0.5f. Actually, it's better if we do 0.1 so we can keep it one digit. Alright. So then we're going to make a handle input method. So public void handle input. So if my input dot key down my input dot left, okay, and then we're gonna go else, then copy this, and then else, change this to right, put this to val dot x equals -2.5f. Alright, and then make this one positive, and then make this one 0. Alright, so next we're gonna update. Public void update. Go ahead, set dimensions to text.getWidth, text.getHeight. Now this is important, doing this at the update method, because once we start getting into animation, sometimes the separate frames of the animation will be bigger or smaller, so it just wraps the bounds to be the width and height of the texture that's being drawn, rather than what the texture was to begin with. So yeah, bounds.x equals, or plus equals val.x, and then we want bounds.x equals my constants.clamp. So gonna clamp bounds.x with 0 and my constants dot game width minus get width, so that you don't go beyond the boundaries of the game. It's equal to that, not subtracting. Okay, and then our draw method is pretty simple. sb.draw. So it takes in, oh, not this one. .draw, we're just going to do, yeah, this one. So it takes in a texture, and then it draws out the width and the x and the y. Alright, and then dispose, text.dispose. So that's our player class. Let's go ahead and implement this into our play state. So go into your play state class and go ahead and just put player P up at the top, or private player P. And before that, actually, import that, and then go ahead and just import all of the entities. Okay, before you actually do that, we're going to actually make a couple more things. So final boolean, actually we're not going to do this one. Private my camera cam, and then a private viewport view. Now you guys probably remember this from the previous tutorial where I talked about the viewport and all that stuff. And yeah, that should be all the things we're doing right now. So we'll go ahead and we're gonna instantiate camera, or initialize camera and view. So cam equals new my camera true. So we want it to be in the center. Okay, we're actually gonna okay, yeah. We don't want that. It's true there and then. So view is equal to new stretch viewport. I think viewport is actually an yeah, it's an abstract class. Yeah. So stretch viewport is a subclass. So my constants dot world width, not height, width. My constants dot world height. Oh, and we have to give it our camera as well. And now view dot apply and view dot update. And then we're gonna cast an integer to game dot size dot x. Oops, I didn't actually cast it. Integer, and then we're gonna cast another integer to game dot size dot y. So basically, apply. Okay, applies the viewport to the camera and sets the GL viewport. It pretty much sets this view to modify the camera. And then viewport.update, it configures the viewport screen bounds by using specified screen size, calls apply boolean typically from, yeah. So then, so yeah. Okay, and then down in resize, we're just going to call view.update, and we're going to give it width, height, and we're actually going to call true so that it centers the viewport, or the center. It centers the camera where it belongs. So go up back into here. This should actually be true then. True. So instantiate or initialize our player, new player. And yeah, that's good. Alright, now in handle input, just do p.handle input. In update, p.update. This is rather simple for now. It's going to get a little bit more crazy. So then here we have to do something similar to what we did with our shape renderer, where we did sr dot, or actually no, not sr, sb dot begin, and then sb dot set projection matrix, cam dot combine, so that's the same, and then p dot draw, and we're going to give it all our parameters, and then sb dot end. Make sure you call that end method. So we can go ahead and run this, and our player should be down here. So as you can see, he's down here. You can see he moves all the way here, and the clamp method makes him stop right here, even though his bounce is technically still changing. And if you can see, it resizes, even though it looks kind of stretched out, nothing really changes. The game still works the same way, and nothing gets really messed up. So, yeah. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the shields. So the shields are those bottom parts. Now the player, what it uses is called a raster graphic to draw, so which is pretty much just like a list of pixels that it draws. So the problem with that is that, as you can see in a second when it opens up, as you can see in the Space Invaders, it these get a little, they get messed up as you shoot them. So you have to, you can't have just a raster graphic with a bunch of different ones, because there's an infinite amount of ways you can draw the shields. So yeah, so to do that, we're just going to have an array of rectangles in the shield. So it's actually not going to extend entity because it doesn't behave like an entity. So we're gonna do a public static final int total width equals 22, public static final int total height equals 16. Now this is something I determined before I even made all of this. I just like downloaded the sprites and I saw how tall and wide it was. So next, private float start x start y. Alright, so this is just so that you can use it. Actually, we don't need this because it's only for the debug method that I had a while ago. Okay, and then you want a private array. Make sure it's your conduct, bad logic, or GDX. A rectangle, and then this one's going to be bounds. Why? Oh, you have to import that. Yeah, alright. So, next we're going to start with our constructor. So public shield float x, float y. So this is where it's going to start. Okay, and then we're just going to initialize our array. So a new array of rectangles. Okay, so next we're going to do a nested for loop. So for int row equals 0. Row is less than shield dot total height. So the row is the amount of. So we're just going to stack multiple rows on top of each other. So say I have. Let's just do a multi-line comment here. Oops. So let's say I have like a bunch of dots. What this nested loop does is it pretty much just adds a row of these dots. So it's the loop does the rows first, shield total height, and then next we're going to do row plus plus. You remember that's how our for loop works. Okay, so we're going to put another for loop in here. And this is going to be for the column. So this for loop is going to be called 16 times in total. And it's going to have 22 iterations. Column is less than shield dot total width, column plus plus. And then as you may know, they don't have a perfect square shape. So we have to set areas where there are no rectangles. So if we have a row is less than 2, so if it's in the first 2 rows, and the column is greater than 4, so if it's beyond the 4th pixel, and column is less than 16, so continue. Continue. Oops. There you go. So we're just going to go ahead and put this bounds.add new rectangle. Just going to do call plus x, comma row plus y, 1, 1. So this is telling it to go which column it's in, plus the x, so the initial x, and then it goes to what row it's in, plus the initial y. So we're just going to go ahead and continue. So if row is equal to 2, so if it's in the second, if it's in the third row, I know it's confusing, but you know, programming. And column is greater than 5, and column is less than 15. Continue. Okay, if row is equal to 3 and column is greater than 6 and column is less than 14. So this makes this little arc, the little arc in the center. Continue. So next we're gonna have the tops and the part that kind of round it off. So we're gonna go ahead and do if row is equal to 12, so in the 13th row, and column is equal to 0, or column is equal to 21. Continue. Now again, I determined all these positions for the pixels and all that while I was developing it. So we're just gonna go ahead and copy this 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So then change this to 13, 14, and 15. Change this to change all these to less thans. These are multiple columns, so 2, 3, and 4. Change these to greater thans. And then make this one 19, make this one 18, and make this one 17. Alright, so then we're going to do a public void update, and it's going to take nothing yet. Actually, we're not going to make this update method yet because we don't have the things needed for it. So go ahead and do our public void draw, and it's going to take a shape renderer. So sr.setColor, so this is going to change the color. My constants .rgba, where it's going to be a green color, so set that to green with all alpha. And whenever you want to change the color for a specific thing, since there's only one shape renderer drawing everything that just drawn after this would be green. So we have to set this back to the default white. So set color white. I always do this whenever I change the color of a sprite batch or a shape renderer. So we're just gonna do a for in loop. So for rectangle are in bounds sr dot rectangle is going to be r dot x, no, r dot y, r dot width, and r dot height. Okay, and that should be done for now. We can just make our empty public class or public void update. And just put a to do there. To do add collision. Okay, so we can close out player actually because we're completely done with that entity. So go ahead and into your play state, and we're going to go ahead and implement this as well. So in play state, once it loads on my iPad here, okay, we're going to make an array of shields. So private array, just letting you know, I don't know if I used this in Pong or not, but this array right here is kind of libgdx's own version of the array list. It's apparently faster than the array list, so just go ahead and trust them and use this instead of the Java built-in array list. Okay, so go ahead and instantiate or initialize your shields. Shield equals new array shield, and then go ahead and call shields.clear. I don't know why I do that. Oh, whatever. The shields get cleared just in case, you know, the computer decides to do something stupid. So go ahead and call shields. I would use a for loop, but I don't want to kind of come up with a function for this. So just go ahead. We're just going to add individual shields. so new shield, we're gonna position them. So oh boy, okay. So we're subtracting 3 numbers from each other. So parentheses, parentheses, parentheses. And this is subtraction, subtraction, comma, 2 numbers, subtracting. Okay, so this one's going to be my constants dot game width times 0.5f minus shield dot total width minus shield dot total width times 0.5f. And then this one's going to be my constants dot world height times 0.2f minus shield dot total height times 0.5f. So go ahead and copy. I'll go ahead and space this down here. I don't know what happened. Oh. So I'll just go ahead and do this so that you can, well, you still need, it needs to be further there so that you can see the number. Go ahead and pause it and copy this. Okay, good. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times because there's 6 shields. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So this is where it changes. So this is going to be times 3. Okay, and this is going to be times 5. And then we're adding here now. And this is going to be times 0.5f. And we're actually going to get rid of this. And then this is times 2. And this is adding. And then this one is times 4. So go ahead and make those changes to the separate ones. And we're adding here actually. Yeah. So go ahead and copy that and yeah. So our next thing, let's actually just go ahead and do this now. Game.score. Oops, did I set these to private? I meant this to public. Change that to public in your game class, sorry. Game.score is equal to 0. I just realized that that's something that we can just go ahead and do. So in update, where is it? For shield, S in shields. And for shield, S in shields. Yep. S dot update. And I think that's it for now. We're going to go ahead and just do this. If game.score is greater than game.highscore, game.highscore is equal to game.score. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and start and draw our shields. So sr.begin. Remember, this one takes a shape type. Dot filled. sr.set projection matrix. cam.combined. And we're going to do another for loop. So for shield s in shields s.draw shape renderer. sr.end. I know it seems like we're doing a lot of loops in between each frame, and we're going to actually do a lot more. And yeah, it seems bad, but it's actually fine. So don't worry about that. Okay. And then we're gonna, in our dispose method, we're going to do p.dispose and for shield s. Oh, I don't actually have anything to dispose of shield. And then game.save. Okay, so as you can see, these are drawn. They have our shape that we wanted. Just to give you an idea of why this happens, if we actually comment all this out and we just add the bounds, they're just squares. Alright, so go ahead and just do that. And you can see their shape, their lovely shape that we create when we do this. Okay, that should be all. This episode is, or this tutorial has gone on pretty long, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. Next, we're going to make enemies and bullet. We're just going to go ahead and make the rest of the entities that are actually part of the game. So we're going to make the enemy, the bullets, and the motherships. Okay, so we can go ahead and close out shield. And I'm just going to close out of all this. And yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead, just ask me around school, email me, text me, Skype me, whatever you want to do. Just get those questions answered. And I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.